I just got my dream job. I mean, the pay, the benefits, the team, everything is what I wanted. And in this video, I'm gonna talk to you about how I got my dream job, and I'm gonna give you some helpful advice on how you can also land your dream job right after graduating your CNA program. But first, let me introduce myself. Hi, my name is Anissa. I'm a certified nursing assistant on her nursing journey, and it would mean a lot to me if you liked this video and subscribed to my channel. I'm new on YouTube, and so your support means everything to me. So thank you in advance. Now, let's get into this video. So last week I finished my 5-week CNA program to become a certified nursing assistant, and I live in Arizona, and so we have a rule here that allows you to start working as a CNA for 90 days before you get your state license. With that in mind, I started looking for jobs before I even graduated. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't think there is a better time to become a CNA than right now. We are in such high demand. Literally, on my first day of class, we had reps from a network of rehab clinics in the state of Arizona come to tell us, we want to hire you as soon as you finish class. And no wonder, CNA jobs are expected to grow 5% over the next decade, and home health aide jobs, which you need a CNA license to do, are expected to grow 22%. Just let that sink in. COVID honestly pushed a lot of healthcare professionals out of the field, leaving huge hiring gaps for hospitals to fill with talented people like me and you. And if you're worried that maybe it's still going to be as hectic as it was during the COVID days, COVID is largely under control, but a lot of people were burnt out. And so that's an opportunity for people like you and me to come in and get our foot in the door in fields that are interesting to us. Think home health, med surg, hospice, etc. There are so many fields that if you're interested in it, now is a great time to get your CNA license and get your foot in the door. That said, here are a few things I want to share with you about how to land your dream job right after graduation. Number one, start looking for jobs before you graduate and before you get your state license. If your state is like Arizona and they allow you to work before you get your state license, you should absolutely take advantage of that and start applying for jobs before you even graduate. Next, talk to your classmates and find out where they're interviewing. Find out what they know about hiring events going on in town. Honestly, that's how I learned about the hospital that I work at now and how they were hiring. A classmate that was also doing her clinicals at the same facility that I was at mentioned it, and I overheard and signed up. Next, talk to your instructors. They already have the plug. They've got connections in rehab facilities and other places in town already. So find out where they're hiring. Find out, okay, who's always hiring? Who do you know who's always hiring new grads right out the gate? My instructor helped at least a couple of my classmates get jobs where we did our clinicals, and that's a great way for you to get your foot in the door. And I mentioned this a little bit just a second ago, but working at your clinical site may also be an option. Like I said, a couple of my classmates are now working at the clinical site. I personally thought the clinical site wasn't going to be a good fit for me, but for you, that might be completely different. So consider that, especially because they've already seen you working, right? Like they know that you're hands-on, they know that you're eager. It's a great way for you to kind of show what you've got and then see if they'll hire you. Next, attend hiring events. Like I mentioned before, that's how I got this job. This hospital in town was having a hiring event. I signed up for the event, I uploaded my resume, I made sure that I had my basic life support. In the state of Arizona, they require you to have fingerprinting done. So I made sure I had all those ducks in the row before I went. And then when I did, I got hired right on the spot. I actually did my interview at the hiring event and they gave me the job right then and there. So look out for those opportunities. Sometimes a quick Google search is all you need to do. but I learned about this one through a classmate. Last but not least, reach out to the human resources team, the HR team at your dream job, at your dream hospital or rehab or assisted living home. Even if you don't get hired, they may be able to keep your resume on file so that when a future opportunity opens up, maybe they'll be kind enough to reach out to you. Or maybe you applied for a job and didn't get in, but when they see your persistence, they'll eventually hire you. So you should definitely look into that. All right, now, while you're looking for jobs, I want you to keep a few things in mind. Number one, you don't have to know exactly what you want to do, but think about your non-negotiables when you go into your interviews or as you're doing your job search. What are your non-negotiables? Is it the schedule or shift that you want to work, your start date, your pay, the location? All of these are common non-negotiables that you should absolutely keep in mind. Some jobs are only hiring for night shift, right? But if you absolutely know you can't do night shift, then that's not going to work for you. Some jobs, they're hiring months out, or maybe they're just keeping resumes on file. But if you want to start working now, that's not going to work for you. Some jobs right now are paying $20+ an hour, but if they're only offering you 15 and you know that's not going to allow you to make ends meet, then you need to walk away and find something better. But as far as, I don't know if I want to work med-surg, I don't know if I want to work oncology, I don't know if I want to work pediatrics, you don't quite need to have that figured out just yet, because you're new. You learned the general basics of what it takes to do your job well, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you know if you're going to love working with adults, kids, the elderly, and that's fine. When I went into the hiring fair, I went in completely open. All I knew was that I wanted to work nights, I wanted to start at $20 at least, I wanted it to be within reasonable distance of where I lived, and I wanted to start right away. And this job ticked all the boxes for me. So keep that in mind as you're going forward. You don't have to agonize over exactly what field you want to work in yet. Next, think about the reputation of the place that's hiring. Are they known for being a good workplace? Are they known for being stressful and hectic? Do they have high turnover? These are all things you want to keep in mind, because if that's the kind of environment that you want to avoid, you don't want to get burnt out, then you might not enjoy working in a place that has high turnover and is very stressful. Do they have a reputation for low pay and being difficult with workers? Keep all of that in mind. A way that you can also know whether or not the facility is even very good is just Google it. Look at their Google reviews. You're going to see a customer's perspective, but a customer's perspective is going to be reflective of how the workers are treated in order to help and accommodate the customers. So if you're seeing customer complaints left and right, they've got 1 star, 2 stars, then don't start your career out like that. Start somewhere that has a reputation for treating customers well, where people are happy with their workers, people are happy with the CNAs and the team. That is where you want to be. And that's also going to help get your career off on the right foot, because when people look at where you worked, they're going to associate your aptitude and your ability to do the job well with the employer's positive reputation or their negative reputation. So start off strong and pay attention to those red flags. Next, responsiveness. CNAs right now are in high demand. So any office, any hospital, any job that's not returning your calls, that's not being very responsive, that's being really slow, you're constantly having to call and follow up in order to get a response, move on. Move on. There are other jobs or other places that are going to be on the ball. That's a red flag if they're not responsive, and it may not necessarily be reflective of how much they want to work with you, but they just might not have their stuff together. If they're really slow on paperwork, they're slow on getting you started, avoid it. It's a red flag. Next thing to keep in mind, apply for multiple places, multiple jobs, do multiple interviews, and don't let anybody know that you're doing multiple interviews, okay? Do the interviews, spread your options wide, right? Because like I mentioned about responsiveness being a red flag, if one of them's not responsive, you don't want to have to put all your eggs into that one basket. You really want to have other options on the side. This is what I did personally, and I'm very glad that I did, because there were some organizations that at first seemed really eager to work with me. But after the interview, they were just really slow to respond, even though they made an offer. I'm putting in my effort, but they're not really putting in theirs. And so the start date is starting to get pushed. So at that point I said, there's no point. There's no point. I'm moving on, and I'm really happy with the employer that I'm with right now. Last but not least, to keep in mind as you go into your interviews, be prepared to answer clinical questions. It's not only questions about your character and how you're going to respond in different interpersonal situations. They're also going to ask you questions about vitals. They're going to ask you questions about how to recognize something that you need to report to your nurse or your supervisor. So you want to be on top of your knowledge as a nursing assistant to be able to answer those questions well. Because honestly, you might be the nicest person in the world. You might have all the best answers about how to avoid workplace conflict. But if you can't tell that the first sign of a pressure sore is redness, that's not going to be a good look on you. Or if you can't tell that if somebody's low blood pressure means you need to take it again, that's not going to reflect well on you. So study up on your nursing assistant knowledge and be prepared to answer some of those basic questions. All right, so here's how I personally landed my dream job. I'm going to share my testimony with you guys real quick in a little bit more detail, even though I dropped some hints in the tips that I gave you. So in my area, there's a very famous hospital. And during my clinical rotations, I overheard one of the girls in my class say that she was working in the kitchen at this particular hospital. And she said they paid well, and they were having a hiring event for what they call patient care associates, which is effectively a certified nursing assistant. And immediately, I just knew this was my opportunity to get my foot in the door. So I registered for the event. I told the girl that I had been listening on a conversation. She was totally cool with it. She gave me the link to the website. So I wasn't just eavesdropping for, for eavesdropping's sake. But before I went to this event, I made sure I had my stuff together. Like I said in the first part of this video, I had my basic life support certification. I had my resume reformatted so that it looked really nice. I have a background in writing. Pretty much all of my professional experience is in writing. And so I tried to pick out some of the most healthcare related experiences that I had. So if you've got a background in, nothing to do with healthcare like me, revisit your resume and try to format it to look appealing to a healthcare team. I also bought a pair of scrubs, like a nice looking pair of scrubs. I didn't spend a whole lot of money on it, but it was a pair that I bought off of Amazon, and they did the job. I mean, I wore those scrubs to all of my interviews, and it worked great. And I made sure that I also had several copies of my resume printed. Honestly, I only printed like 3, but ideally you would want to print maybe closer to like 10 or 15, just so that you could hand them out, right? And then last, I'm a Christian, so I prayed and I asked God to give me favor with the right person. And no surprise, I went to this event, and after talking to a few people, I met this amazing woman in the cancer center, which is hematology and oncology, and we hit it off right away. She was also someone who was newer to, well, that's not true. She's not new to nursing, but she had a previous career. She was someone with a previous career who is now working in nursing, and she offered me the job right on the spot, contingent that I passed my license exam. And guys, it was just like that. I was so happy. I was so surprised by how smoothly everything went. And when I got to my car after the hiring event, I filmed this little clip knowing that I was gonna make this video. So I hope you check it out. Okay, hello. I am in the parking lot of a hospital, my hospital in town, or one of them, and they just did a hiring event. So I got here like an hour and a half ago, and they had like a whole room full of tables. That didn't seem to have a lot of other, actually there was nobody else there except me and all of these different reps for the different inpatient and outpatient areas in the hospital. And I just started going around just talking to people. I didn't even talk to everybody, but I already did 2 interviews like right off the bat. The first interview was with a med-surg floor, and she was really nice. It was like really good experience just sitting across from her and answering questions. And then the second interview was with oncology and hematology, and I'm kind of open to anything. I think I want to do inpatient though, as close to ICU as I can get, just because there's more opportunities once you're in that position. Anyway, I got a job offer. Oh my gosh. And it's contingent on me getting my license, but of course I'm gonna get my license this month. I just can't, like, I'm nervous, but I'm so excited. Like, this is like one of the best hospitals in town, and I got a job offer on the first interview. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to start this job, and I'll let you guys know how it goes. I'll bring you guys along. But I want to encourage you guys who are graduating or you've already finished your program to stay focused and finish strong, okay? There's a great job out there for you too, and I think that if you apply the tips and keep in mind some of the things that I shared, you're gonna get that dream job, okay? So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like and subscribe to my channel for more, and share it with someone who's interested in being a CNA but is maybe on the fence. Bless you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.